Hi TSNET friends. Today I would like to show you how I use a Chrome add-on called Form Publisher to go paperless with my oaths. I've been using this for several years, 4 or 5 years maybe. Saves thousands of sheets of paper, so much printing in our district. And so easy to find an oath when I happen to need a particular oath. And to demonstrate this for you, I'm going to start kind of backwards. And I want to be sure that you understand how to use the merge feature in a Word document. So if you are not familiar with mail merge using Microsoft Word, for example, and an Excel spreadsheet, then I strongly suggest you work on that first. Because if you understand how a mail merge works, then this will make much more sense to you. Okay, so I'm going to show you the parts of this, and then I'll go into some details for you. And the first thing I want to show you is that I start with a Google form. And so here you'll see my Google form, and I have taken each question on the general test security oath, and I have converted it into a format that works for Google Forms. So as an example, these are all initial fields. If applicable, I have received training this school year, and your initial. So the answer when a test administrator fills this out would be their initials. I have my form divided up into several different parts. There are many different ways to do this. Just depends on how you think about the oath, but I have essentially taken a paper version of the oath and converted each item to a Google form question. I also have a question here for non-certified staff. They need to identify who is their supervisor. And the answer for most people is that I hold a ballot certificate, but for those who are not certified, they need to identify who is supervising them. And then here at the end, I have them type in their first name, last name, the date, and they select their campus. And this is an important part of the process here. The signature, they type it in here. And I also have created something of an electronic signature that I will show you. So that's what my Google form looks like. Again, yours might look different, and obviously sharing Google Forms is another thing. So you'll want to create your own Google form. It is tedious. I copy it every year, and then I go line by line with the current oath and make any changes I need to for the next school year. So once you do it, it will last you for several years. I have not had to start over with the oath. I just keep adjusting this one each year. Okay, so that's my Google form. Now, I told you that this is much like a mail merge document. And so this is where I'm going to get the data to merge into each field. And this is my template where this will give me the pretty picture at the end, or the pretty printout at the end. And you'll see that I have formatted this much like the paper oath. So I've just put in some of this text from the oath that is standard. And then I have each question from the Google form. So I have received training on the proper administration of the state assessments as required. If applicable, I have received training this school year. So I have all of the questions listed here. And then over here in this tiny little column, I crammed in the answers. So the answer, the initials that are entered on the Google form go here. And you'll see the question is very long, right? I have to put the question in here inside these carets to make sure that, and that's how I get the merge, which is why I want to be sure you know how to do a mail merge in a Microsoft document first. And then you have to have the question in here in the exact text. And I'm going to undo that to make sure I didn't mess something up. So obviously when it prints, or when I'm not actually going to print it, but when I create the PDF, I'm not going to have all this text in here. That's going to be their actual initials, because that's how a mail merge works, okay? And the other thing you'll see is that this document is 6 pages long. It doesn't matter. Nobody wants a 6-page oath. It's not really 6 pages long, because in each of these fields is just their answer to the question, which is usually initials, okay? And you'll notice on my form on every page, I put in the footer, I put a timestamp, the email address, and then their first name, last name that they type on the form with the campus. And I don't merge Pflugerville ISD because they're all going to be Pflugerville ISD. And so that's what it looks like. I just put this in the footer because it was just more convenient for me, but it's not going to be 6 pages. Some people get hung up on that it doesn't look the way they want it to. It will look the way you want it to in the end, I promise. It does take some work, but it will work for you. Okay, so those are the 2 components that you have to set up, right? The next thing you have to do is you're going to use a Google add-on, and it's called Form Publisher. If you just Google Form Publisher, you will find this website. And I want to tell you about this add-on. There's a lot of information here that you should read through to understand how it works. And again, this is essentially acting as your mail merge function, okay? I do want to talk to you about the pricing, because when I started doing this, I was able to use a free version. And of course, all good things come to an end, right? The free version allows you 20 submissions a month. And that wasn't going to be enough for me for my oaths. So I upgraded to $79 a month, or a year, sorry, so that I can have unlimited form submissions, because I will have thousands of them. And I use this add-on for many things. I use it for, I use it for irregularities and other things like that. Almost anything that goes into a Google form that I need a pretty copy of, I use Form Publisher for. Now in our district, we use it for a million things, summer school registration, all kinds of things. And what I found is that I was recommending it to a lot of people in my district because they wanted to know how I did this. And so now we have the 590 version. And so everybody with a PFISD email address now has access. That includes our teachers, campus administrators, clerical staff can all use it for just the 590. But what I want to point out here is the support that's offered. So on the free version, you get their best effort, and on the priority version, or on the individual or business versions, you get priority support. Please don't pay the money expecting priority support. I don't want to ruin anybody's business model here, but the support is not helpful. They're not going to help you. You're going to have to figure it out on your own, to be 100% honest with you. So don't count on the support. My hunch is that the support is located in another country and everything is kind of translated back and forth from one language to another. And then by the time you get the answer back, it's not particularly helpful because of all the translations that have happened. So I do not recommend the support. So if you're not the kind of person who can persist and figure it out, then this may not be what you want to do. But if you're detail oriented and you like a challenge, you like to figure something new out, give it a try. Start with the free version, obviously, and then see what you want to do. But this is what works for me. There's lots of good information here, and honestly, what's on their website has improved dramatically. And I find it really helpful when I'm looking at their new features because they do occasionally improve the product. So I do find the website to be better actually now than their help desk, if you will. So you would install it, and that would take you through the process, or get started for free would help you just install the free version so you could play around with it. So here's what that looks like. So it is an add-on, and it's added on to your Google form. And so in your add-ons, the little puzzle piece menu up here, I have Form Publisher, and I've clicked on Launch Form Publisher there real fast, and it will pop up here. And this is where you do the work to set up Form Publisher. So this is kind of the brains of the operation. And it thinks, because it's going to look for your template here, it's checking things out. So you'll see my template is attached here. The first time you do this, it will generate a template for you. And it will put all of this information that I have, it will put it in a template for you. It's not going to look pretty like mine. So you can set up your template first, or you can let it generate a template for you, and then you'll go in and clean it up and rearrange it and get it to look just the way you want it to. And I can always edit my template here to update something. You'll see here, this is important. This is where you might get hung up when you're first getting started. How do I make that go away? There it goes. So I have two standard markers. So a standard marker is something like the timestamp that Google already knows, or the user's email address, because I have my form set to collect email addresses. So Google already knows these things. These don't need to be questions in your form, but that's what a standard marker is. Now my question markers are all of the questions that I have created, okay? And you'll see that on my questions, you'll see this little green check mark. This is a good thing. This means everything is matching. When you first get started, these aren't going to match, and you're going to have to figure out why. And so this question right here has to exactly match the question on your form and inside your carets. It doesn't have to match the question on your form. I misspoke. The question on your form, I have received the proper training, blah, 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 has to exactly match this mail merge. That's how it's going to know what answer goes there. So you might find that you have an extra space or an extra period or something. So that's what this means, and you need these to be green, and you'll have to tweak it until you get to that point. It's not letting me save it because I didn't make any changes. So I'm going to go to the next task here. I need to set up my destination folders and routing rules. And this tells Form Publisher where to put the completed forms. And you'll see I have a folder attached here. And let me go to that folder. Where did I put it? Here it is. So you'll see I had it set up to go into the test administrator, the TA Form Publisher output folder. And I want to show you what these look like because they're super cool. This is a newer feature that wasn't available when I started using Form Publisher, but you'll see it groups your, for me, I had it group my oaths by campus. And you'll remember I showed you this is a question on my oath. And so as an example, my campus test coordinator can go to this file because I've shared it with her, and she can find the oaths for all of her people. And here is what a pretty oath looks like in the end. And you'll see it looks better than the one that TEA provides to us. I think it does anyway. But you'll see the initials that were entered are here. You'll see the person's name signed. This is how I have my signature generated that I showed you earlier, signed on this date by this person. So this is what the actual oath looks like, and I really like the way it's organized in this folder here. So if I go back to my Google form, you'll see I tell it which folder here, okay? All right, I didn't change anything, so I can't save it. So I'm going to go to the menu here. If you save it, it takes you to the next step here, but I'm not saving. So file generation options. You will want to set this to generate a PDF because that's the end goal. You'll notice in my folder, I have PDFs and Word documents. I can change that. I just never have. But I just have the PDF. I can adjust some of these settings, and you'll want to play with them. I leave it just as it is. It doesn't hurt anything. I think the increment it counts. It assigns a number. I've never used that feature. It's turned on. I don't use it. The next important task is the naming convention. So you get to decide how you want to name your oaths. I have mine named by last name, first name, the campus. That helps my campus coordinators find their oaths. And again, I've shared each of these folders with them so they can verify that they are correct and complete. So here's how I generated the file name: last name, comma, first name, comma, campus. And you can also add some standard markers. You can add any other element from your Google form can be part of the name. I think you can figure that out. I didn't change anything, so I'm going to use this menu up here. Sharing options and notifications, this is really important. This allows you to get an email every time an oath is completed if you want that. I do not want that. So what I have set up here, you'll have to play with this a little bit. It's a little kind of quirky. I have the form respondent gets the PDF. okay? And I can add myself, I can add somebody else. None of us want to receive an email every time an oath is submitted in my district, so the only person who gets it is the form respondent, and they get the PDF. What I really like are the email notifications, and this might take a second to load. So when each person submits their oath, they get an email. It has the pretty PDF that I just showed you attached, and it has this email that is now here. So you get to set all this up. I really like it. People laugh at me because I have the sender name. It comes from the campus testing coordinator. And then I have the year. You can create the subject line, whatever you want. I give them a quick note here. Your oath has been submitted. Please review it for accuracy and completion. If a correction is needed, submit a new form. And I include the link to submit the new form if they need to. So sometimes my campus coordinators will find that somebody submitted 2 oaths. They have to figure out which one is the proper one. Keep the attachment for your records. A copy has been saved and will remain on file with the district for 5 years. Save the attachment as directed by your campus coordinator. Sometimes my campus coordinators like to have them save it in a campus folder. I'm going to actually eliminate that because that was helpful when Form Publisher didn't organize them by campus. Now Form Publisher organizes them by campus, so we don't really need this step anymore. I'm going to close that without making any changes. And again, there's some other issues here or items here you can play with. The approval workflow I don't use for this, for the oaths. I use it for something else. It's fairly simple to figure out. It's not super fancy. I don't use the legacy email templates, and I haven't experimented with separate emails. So there are things here that you can experiment with. So the honest truth is there are a couple more tasks here in the menu that you don't need. Once you complete these first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tasks, you will be set up. You can test your form. After you get experience with Form Publisher, you may need to regenerate a file once in a while. Sometimes I'll find a mistake and I'll do that. But there's also an allowance somewhere down here where I think on the form status where you can just reset your form and start over. And then I like the what's new because they do actually improve this occasionally. So I like that. So when you have these first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tasks set up, it will allow you to test your form. I recommend you test it and have somebody else who's not you test it. And then you can go into your folder. You can see what the oath looks like. You might need to adjust your margins. You might need to adjust the size of your font. You might find errors to correct. It took me a while to get mine on 1 page. It's pretty small, and I had to make sure that it wasn't going to bleed over. So you might have to work on that. But that, in a nutshell, in a very big nutshell, is how I generate paperless oaths. I also use this, like I mentioned earlier, for irregularity reports. When I used to send a district staff out to visit campuses, they would have a checklist to create here, and it would generate a pretty PDF at the end. There are many, many uses. Oaths is quite a complicated way to start, but it's the one that makes sense to most of us. So I hope you find that super helpful, and I hope you are able to try something like this in your district. I can also tell you that there are other Google add-ons that do the same thing. I'm not familiar with them, obviously. I use this one. So you might find another way to do this, but essentially what you're trying to do in this case is a mail merge. So I hope you find that helpful. Thank you.